Hi, Nadia.
Hi, guys.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Peter.
Hi, I'm Tanya. I'm presenter from Ukrainian Film School. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Hey, guys.
Hey, hey, hey.
I think we can start in a few minutes.
Hi, I'm Peter.
Hi, I'm Tanya. I'm presenter from Ukrainian Film School. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
There's a little delay.
Yeah, it's a little bit delayed because we have also online translation on YouTube.
Gotcha. Okay. Is this how it's going to be throughout, or?
Sorry?
Is this how it's going to be throughout? A little bit delayed?
I think few seconds.
Okay. Are you an actress as well, or just in charge of the entire school?
Sorry, I forget to turn on the micro. I'm project manager from the Ukrainian Film School. Peter, we need a couple of minutes to finish our technical
Yeah, you got it.
stuff.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll say you hi when we can start again.
Okay.
Just a second.
Hi. Somebody hears me or not? Yeah, it's okay. We can talk actually. Not here because they are making recording. So I can mute my
How are you?
Let's mute the microphones and talk in a
Тихо, не материтесь.
Катя, здравствуйте. Это вы,
Здравствуйте.
Катерина? Нет. Алло. Меня слышно или нет?
Да, да, Надь, добрый вечер, слышим вас.
Я просто выключила, потому что я общалась с Питером, а выключила микрофон, чтобы не мешать вам здесь.
Да, да, здравствуйте. Я думаю, можем начинать.
Окей.
Dobry głos? Dobrze możesz słyszeć?
Так.
Tak? Dobra.
Так. Здравствуйте, дорогие! У нас сегодня приятная новость и возможность встретиться с настоящим голливудским актером, человеком, который вот ходит на работу сниматься в фильмах. Это не просто мечта, это не просто как бы какая-то там увлечение, да, это то, чем человек зарабатывает деньги. Я думаю, что вы все, наверное, к этому стремитесь. Питер Робель, я думаю, исправит меня, если неправильно назвала, потому что Питер коренной поляк, и сюда он приехал в 10 лет ему было, когда он приехал в Штаты. Его история хороша тем, что этот человек сделал себя сам. Фактически это актер, который приехал в Голливуд, не имея никаких связей, и с нуля за несколько лет построил собственную карьеру, и теперь он тот, кого приглашают на главные роли в голливудские фильмы. Познакомьтесь, пожалуйста, Питер. И я думаю, что мы можем пойти по структуре таким образом, чтобы просто чуть-чуть рассказать о профессии, какие есть нюансы, какие есть, что вы должны иметь уже сразу, как только сюда едете, уже понимать, что это нужно иметь, потому что по-другому вы просто потеряете время и деньги. А дальше мы можем говорить о том, как развивать себя здесь, и я думаю, будет интересна личная история Питера, потому что ему есть что рассказать, чем поделиться. Ну и также в конце, я думаю, что у вас возникнет масса вопросов, просто мы уделим немного времени для того, чтобы задать ему несколько вопросов. Общаться будем на английском, если не проблема. Если что-то не будем понимать, можете останавливать, просить, будем переводить. Hi, Peter.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
How are you going there?
How's everyone doing? Hopefully everyone's okay. Everyone's fine. My name is Peter, and I was born in Warsaw. Should I just speak in English, right? I mean, yeah. So I was born in Warsaw, and I wanted to be an actor since I was about 10 years old. And it's not a very easy journey. It's extremely difficult. Not just because I was born in Poland, but it's difficult for anyone, no matter where they're from. It doesn't matter if you're from the United States, Canada, Brazil, Russia, Germany, it doesn't matter. It's a very, very difficult business to get into. But if you love it, if you're passionate about the craft of acting, you will be successful. There's a lot of steps, but you have to have it in here. You have to have it in here. That has to be your passion, and that has to be your goal, and that's how you're driven. So let's begin.
Peter, we have a connection with one of the best Ukrainian film schools, and they are based on the biggest film studio. So all these people, I guess, they have already big passion to become an actor.
Awesome.
So let's start. Let's start from advices. And
Okay.
maybe start from this few things which you need to have when you come to LA. Look.
Okay, it's a lot. So the moment, let's say you graduated Ukrainian Film School, you believe you're ready to go, you're ready to make that move to United States, to Hollywood, California, right? So what is the first thing that you need? Well, the very first thing are classes. You have to get into very, very good classes, good acting classes. Not necessarily private classes. I mean, we can get into that a little bit later when we talk about the accents and the dialect, but let's talk about classes. In Los Angeles, there's so many classes for actors. Some are expensive, some are not expensive, some are good, some are bad. but classes are extremely important. They range between, you can also audit the classes. When I mean audit, I'm talking about going in for free for a day or two, sit in as a student, as a potential student, and just watch what everyone's doing. If you like the teacher, if you don't like the teacher, you can talk to the teacher afterwards. You can talk to the students to see if they like the class, what they're learning, is it helping them, how long the classes are, how much they cost, and exactly how you'll be learning and what the exercises will be. For example, when I came to Los Angeles, I already studied theater, stage acting in Washington, D.C. So the transition was a little bit difficult, but after 5 months, I got the gist of it. I got the hang of it. So when I came to LA, Los Angeles, right away, I wanted to find out what are the best classes in Hollywood, right? And the very first school and classes that I got into was actually New York Film Academy. But the problem was I did not do my research to 100%, and I should have, because at that time, New York Film Academy was still up and coming. It wasn't as famous as it is now. So the education level that I got as an actor, it did not necessarily help me to where I wanted to be as an actor. What do I mean by that? I wasn't getting the gist of the character. For example, the instructor would give us a paper, right? And it would be maybe 25 sentences, and I would have to memorize that in, let's say, 15 minutes, right? It was an 8-week, 12-week kind of intensive class. So they put a lot of information all at once at me, at the student. So that doesn't necessarily help you out as an actor. It's kind of like throwing a baby into the pool and say, okay, go swim, right? And you expect the baby to swim and be perfect. Well, that's not going to happen in 12 weeks. That takes time. So after New York Film Academy, I've learned, you know what, I need more, that this is just not enough for me. Yeah, memorizing lines, sure, that's great. Understanding what's going on set from professionals, sure, that's great, but I need to be on set. I need to learn for myself. I need to see, I need to hear what's going on, the communication between the director and the actors. I needed that. Well, how do I get that? Well, after New York Film Academy, after those 12 weeks, I said to myself, you know what, I need something more, a little bit longer study time. So I went to a place called the Beverly Hills Playhouse. The Beverly Hills Playhouse, they have a lot of actors that you guys know today, a lot of A-listers. Giovanni Ribisi, he went over there. A lot of older actors in their 60s and 70s, they went over there in the 80s and 90s, in 1985, 1990. So it's a really big school. So I studied at the Beverly Hills Playhouse for 3 years, which is a long, long time. And I studied everything, Meisner technique, Stanislavski. We also had improvisational exercises. Sometimes a casting director would come in and pretend it's an audition. So he would give us a piece of paper or a scene and pair us up with different actors and pretend like it's an audition. So what they would do is we would go out, study the scenes, the lines, make our own choices, and perform in front of the casting director, in front of the class. And at the end, the casting director was like, well, don't do this, don't do that. For example, making different choices. You don't need to make it all big, because some actors come from stage. So as you guys know, as actors know, when you come from stage, you got to be big, right? You got to, your face has to show, you have to be shot out. You got to be big. When on film, sometimes you might be really, really, really tight on in a specific scene. So every twitch in the eye, every twitch in the mouth, that shows, and it's really, really big. So you got to make it subtle. You have to bring down a lot of notches down as an actor coming from theater stage onto a film. So studying at the Beverly Hills Playhouse, I've learned a lot. For example, I'll give you guys the history of what I went through. Very first day, so first you have to audition for the school, right? You have to audition, they see your resume, what you've done. Oh, you're from the theater background, okay. I had to do a little monologue for them. Then I got into the school. The very first day coming into the class, what I had to do, and everybody else at that particular school, what we had to do is meet the class. So you would have a stage and you have about 40, 30 students in the back. And then so you basically say hi to every single peer, every single actor. You introduce yourself to the instructor. Instructor will ask you where you're from. Why do you want to do this? Why acting? Why? How long you've been acting? Who is your favorite actor? Who do you admire? And after that little introduction, just about 5-10 minutes, then the instructor would ask all the other students, so what do you guys see Peter in? Like, what kind of movies? What is his circle of casting? What do I mean when I say circle of casting? Circle of casting is based on your look, your age range, where would you see yourself today on feature films or television? So a lot of actors would be yelling, The Firm. A lot of actors would be calling out all these movies from the 80s and 90s. Specifically, we're talking about feature films. So the instructor would yell out, well, guys, hold on a second. Let me see. He would look at me. Okay, yeah, I could see Peter playing that. So guys, remember, in the United States, it's based on your look. It's how you look, right? So that's how you get into the room in casting. It's based on your looks. That's why pictures are really important. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So after, let's say, 5, I'm sorry?
Sorry to interrupt you,
yeah.
But let's stop here maybe a little bit more on this, how to understand that you are ready to go to LA and work as an actor, or just start to work as an actor here. This look, language, all that we were talking about with you, just like make a line, make a steps one by one, what people need to have
to
go in trouble.
So the basics are, here are the basics. Anyone, no matter who it is, coming from anywhere, you come to Hollywood, these are the standards, basics, things you need. A headshot. What is a headshot? A headshot is a photograph of yourself. It's basically how you look. A dramatic photograph, a headshot, and a commercial headshot. So theatrical and commercial. Theatrical for TV, series, feature films. Commercial for commercial. If you're selling a bottle, if you're selling a phone, right? So commercial is very smiling, you know, you're laughing, you're having a great time. Those kind of shots. And the other shots, theatrical for feature films, that's more your dramatic shot. A little bit more serious shot. So you got to have those. They're about between $200 and $400 in LA. But if you have a friend that has a really good camera, or a director that has a really good camera, he can shoot you. Just remember, the shots have to be really, really good. For commercial, it's best if you have shots in your, let's say, a doctor, right? Maybe you want to go out as a doctor, a lawyer, so a suit and a tie, a construction worker, so you would have this hat, right, and a vest. So those type of shots, that's commercial. Theatrical, you would have maybe a bad boy, right? So a leather jacket, a black leather jacket in an alley. Let's say a guy next door, a good-looking guy next door. So maybe kind of like a cool, nice T-shirt. You know, if it's a good-looking guy, show your muscles. Women come prepared, hair and makeup ready for your headshots. Try not to spend too much money because there's a lot of people in Hollywood that will try to take advantage of actors. Always remember that because actors don't have a lot of money when they're in Hollywood. They always struggle, right? Because you have to pay for your headshots, you have to pay for your classes. Those are not cheap. For guys, facial hair, if you have a mustache or a beard, that's a plus as well. Make sure you get those shots as well, so you have flexibility. So so those are the headshots. So you got to have that. Resume. You got to have a really good resume. You want an agent, right? So you got to have a really good resume. So you have to, coming from Ukraine, got to see those shorts, right? Even if it's a student film, we got to see that. We got to see those credits. A reel, an actor's reel. What do I mean reel? It's basically about a minute footage of you acting. And it's got to be your best acting. It's got to be one of the best acting that you've ever done. It can't be something that's cheesy, bad lighting, bad, just, the footage has to be great. It has to be amazing. So 30 seconds of theatrical dramatic performances and 30 seconds of commercial, funny, smiling comedy performances. Make sure it's a minute, not longer than a minute, because casting directors don't have time to be looking 5, 10, 20 minutes. They just don't have time for that. So what do we have? So now we have headshots, right? And we have a reel. We have footage. So when you come to LA, you can get those headshots. How do we get the footage? Because sometimes, obviously, coming from Ukraine, it's most likely in a different language, right? So how do you get that? Well, that's where the classes come in. Once you get those classes, you start to network with other actors, and these actors will actually help you out. It's kind of like it's kind of like a brotherhood. Everybody wants to help each other out because they know how difficult it is. And everyone has the same goal, which is acting, the love of acting for the craft. So some actors will tell you, oh yeah, I just shot this reel. I wrote this scene down with, this guy named John, and he's really good at it. I'll give you his number and go right ahead and call him up, and he'll shoot with you. Make a scene. You can actually write a scene for yourself that you're comfortable with. So, but you got to make sure that reel is fantastic. It's great because there's a lot of competition in Hollywood. So now we have headshots.
How to estimate your own look and understand that, okay, I'm okay for Hollywood. Is there any, I don't know, so how to understand that you are good, that you look good?
Well, okay.
Good enough
so for... Yeah. No, I understand. So once you're in those classes, let's say you shoot that reel. Let's say the guy's like, oh yeah, the director's like, oh yeah, that's perfect, it's great. Well, sure, because he's directing it, but let's get someone else's point of view. Let's talk to the actors. So show the footage, not to your family, not to your friends, because your friends and family is like, oh, bravo, it's my son, it's my cousin, great. Don't listen to them. Listen to your peers, listen to your actor friends, listen to your director friends, listen to your casting friends, if you have friends in the casting industry. So those are the people you want to listen to. Sometimes they'll say, you know what, that's not believable, that's kind of weak. You might want to adjust a little bit with this scene or that scene. They'll give you notes. Take those notes as a critique to improve yourself as an actor. Don't take it as like, well, what do you know about acting? Don't just take it with kindness. Take it as a kind critique, and work on that. So you have to just make sure that you ask questions. Hey, what do you think of this reel? I just shot this last weekend. It's about 30 seconds. Can you tell me, can you give me some notes? Can you give me what I can improve on? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? Like, give me some ideas what I can do. Another thing is you can ask your peers, actors, director friends, what do you think I should play? How do I look? Like, do I look like a bad guy, good guy, a lawyer type? Do I look like someone that, works in the office Monday through Friday? What is my circle of casting? What is that for me? So you got to know that. You got to know. Don't lie to yourself. Be very true and honest with yourself. What your circle of casting. If there are some guys in Hollywood. They're very heavy. They're very big, but they think they're Tom Cruise. That's never going to happen. They're lying to themselves, or their family is telling them, "Oh, my son, he's so handsome and he's so great." That's not going to work. In Hollywood, it's a cutthroat business. It's either you have the looks you got the talent, at the right time, at the right place, and being lucky. So those are the things that have to happen for you. Not all the time. You don't have to have all of them, but it helps. So Nadia, did I answer that question correctly as far as?
I just wanted to have a few details. For example, should I be just pretty, or is it enough or not?
Yeah. Okay. So if there's a good-looking guy, good-looking girl, they will, yeah, of course, they'll get the job, right? Because sex sells. You know, people want to look beautiful. But the guys or the girls that are like, okay, they're not like super Jennifer Aniston or Sandra Bullock and whatnot. We actually need those people more than the good-looking people, because you will always play, you know, sometimes the best friend, or the friend that screws over the best friend, or the father or the brother. So we always need those characters. So you don't have to be super gorgeous. You don't have to be. In fact, it's best that you're not, because if you are, that person always has to be on top as far as, oh my God, they're always worried about their face. They're always worried about the looks. And sometimes it's too much. There are actors in Hollywood that aren't the best looking people in the world, but they always work constantly. Why? Because they represent the average Joe. They always represent the Peters, you know, the Christines, you know, the Johns, you know, they always represent the regular people. So we actually need more of those characters than the Brad Pitts, you know, the Tom Cruise and whatnot. So don't think of yourself as ugly or anything like that, but think of yourself, you know, okay, it's a big deal. So I'm not Jennifer Aniston. So I'm not, you know, Brad Pitt. That's fine, because you know what? Those guys actually work more often in regular feature films. They do more commercials. They do more TV series. And there's a lot of feature films. There's a lot of work for that as well. I'm talking about before the pandemic, before the COVID-19. So just because you don't have that look, remember, your look is your unique look. Nobody has your look. You're the only one that has that look. So there will be cases and characters that writers write that will fit you perfectly to go with your acting and to go with your look. So don't stress too much about your face and about your look. Yes, Hollywood can be.
Also, what about language and accents?
Language and accents.
How to work with this?
Yeah. So that is very, very important. If you come to the United States, I came to the United States when I was young. So, and I studied English in the United States as well. So for me, the accent kind of went away, my Polish accent, being born in Warsaw. So that went away. But if you're coming to the United States, to Hollywood, at a later age, and English is a bit of a problem, you have to go to a dialect coach and you have to study English to be working in feature films. Now, that's not to say 100% of the times. Yes, there's a lot of guys that come from Russia, from France, from Germany, from Brazil, and they do have that accent. Yeah, that's great, because there are characters that we need in Hollywood that have that authentic 100% accent. But it's not always needed at 100% of the time. So you're not always going to be the leading person with that accent in a American production. That's just not going to happen. That's kind of like me. That's kind of like someone from the United States going to Ukraine, who knows a little bit of Russian, who wants to be in films over there, that doesn't really understand the language, that wants to be the lead. That's just not going to happen. They're going to hire someone from Ukraine, obviously. So you have to minimize that accent as much as possible, because the moment you go to an audition, right? The moment you go to an audition and the casting director hears that accent, they right away know that it's from some other place. A smart casting director will know, okay, so that's Central European, Eastern European accent. But most of the time, casting directors in the United States, they don't have the ear for the accent. Some do, but a lot of don't.
What characters Hollywood has for
Sure.
our accent?
It's unfortunately it's Hollywood puts people with an accent kind of in a box. For example, it's not just with accents, it's with looks too. Like people from Mexico, they always play the drug dealers, right? People coming, let's say from Russia, Ukraine, Poland, when they hear that accent, they automatically think, oh, okay, he can play a terrorist. He's from Russia. He could play someone from KGB, from the 80s. He could play, for example, someone could play with that accent, a killer, someone from someone who's maybe a drunk guy in an alley who always drinks, because for them, they think of those countries, they think immediately terrorist, bad guy, drunk, someone from KGB or the Kremlin, or someone that usually a bad, like a villain, right? Unfortunately, that's how it is. So once they hear that accent and you have that bad villain look, you're going to get typecast. Typecast means that's most likely the only roles you're going to play. So you have to expend your talents and you have to be flexible. So you have to try to get rid of that accent as much as possible. It's extremely important that you try to get rid of that accent, because in Hollywood, unfortunately, they go by the looks and how you sound. So unfortunately, that's the case. People from Mexico that look like gangbangers or from a gang, automatically they get typecast, and they're like they put a shirt, some tattoos, a little mustache, and a red bandana, and they're, next thing you know, they're in the movie as a villain dealing drugs, right? Because it's Mexico. Oh, it's cocaine in Mexico, right? Or from South America. That's unfortunately how you're typecast. You don't always have to have that. I mean, you can change your look. You can grow your hair long, grow a beard, work out. But most importantly, you have to try to get rid of that accent as much as possible, because that's how they will see you. But that's how the business works in Hollywood. So, but if you can pull off any other accent, let's say, if you can speak a different language, so let's say you can speak French, you can pretty well. Let's say if you can speak German pretty well, that's a big plus. Now you're accessible to different roles because you can speak those languages. Granted, in the United States, you're not going to have a leading role because they're American films, so it's going to be English. But there will be parts for you, small parts, but there will be parts for you as an actor to be working in these feature films or TV series. So yeah.
What does it mean, SAG? What it is, and why actors need this?
SAG. So SAG, SAG, it's a union for actors. It stands for Screen Actors Guild. It's a union specifically for people in the entertainment industry. So anyone in front of the camera in the United States, that's a professional working individual in front of the camera, they are most likely SAG members. Well, how do you get to be a SAG member? This is just for United States. So how do you become a SAG member? Okay, so you come to Hollywood. You want to be a professional actor. So in addition to what I mentioned with your reel, your footage, your pictures, your acting classes, now you say to yourself, okay, great, I am ready to be a SAG member. Well, how do you get to be a SAG member? Well, you have to work on a SAG project. For example, a feature film, TV series, or a commercial. But it has to be 3 days. 1, 2, 3. 3 days of those productions. Could be different productions. It doesn't have to be back to back to back, but it has to be 3 productions. When you get that, when you're, it could be background. So you don't have to speak. You can be background. What do I mean by background? Background acting is, it's not really acting, but I mean, it is in a way. Background acting is, let's say I'm the lead, right? I'm talking to someone and there's someone walking behind, right? So that's background atmosphere. So that person creates the illusion like, oh, wow, there's a cafe, but there's no one there. But, oh, wait a minute, there's a person walking. There's another person walking. There's two people talking over here. So that's background. It creates and paints a picture of a very full, let's say, a coffee shop, right? So 3 days working of background work gets you eligibility to join this union. Once you get those 3 days of eligibility, you'll get a paper from production with your name, your date of birth, and that information will go to this office in Hollywood, the Screen Actors Guild office. And they will know how many days you have worked on this specific project, on this professional Screen Actors Guild project. Once you're eligible and you're ready to join, because you haven't joined yet, you're now eligible. So after those 3 days, you're eligible and you want to join, you can join whenever you want. Just don't take too much time, because after a while, this does, after like, let's say 5 years, they're like, okay, well, he's not serious. But after, let's say, a year of becoming a really good actor with classes and whatnot, now you're ready to join. Well, how do you join? Well, you take those 3 pieces of paper, you go to this office, and you fill out maybe 5-10 pages forms, but it costs $3,000 to join. That's the initiation fee, $3,000. In some states, it might be a little bit less, because Screen Actors Guild has about a handful of offices. It has offices in Washington, D.C., New York, LA, I think Seattle, Florida. So it depends what state you're in. But once you have those 3 pieces of paper that you're eligible to join, you go in, you pay the initiation fee, like in Hollywood, it's $3,000. And then after that, you will get this card. You will get this card like this. So it says SAG-AFTRA, right? And it says you're an actor performer, right? Actor performer, and it's valid for 6 months.
Wait,
Because
so what card means?
So SAG, basically what it does for you as an actor, it protects you. When you're on set, they make sure that the actor gets fed on time. So the actor doesn't work 12 hours with no food. It also makes sure you get fed on time for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They make sure that no one bothers you. They make sure there's no sexual harassment. They make sure that you're not being treated poorly. If you have an issue as an actor with a director, with the producer, with anybody else on set, on that professional set, you call SAG and tell them, hey, listen, I feel very uncomfortable. The director, he's making me do things I don't want to do. And he's being very nasty to me. He's yelling at me. Granted, you try to figure those problems out on your own. As a professional, you try to figure out them on your own. But if it escalates to that point where you just have a lot of issues on that set and it becomes problematic or it becomes unsafe, that's when you call SAG. That's when you call your union, your Screen Actors Guild union, and they'll step in and they'll try to fix the resolution or try to help you out on how to fix the resolution. So SAG also means getting paid professional wages, Screen Actor Guild wages. So there's a lot of members in Screen Actors Guild, but only 1%, less than 1%, makes millions and millions of dollars. And that's your Jack Nicholson, your Meryl Streep, all these guys that you know very well internationally. So those guys get paid millions. So it just goes to show you what kind of a tough of a business it is. As of now, I'm sure you guys can look it up, but there's there's a few million of members in the Screen Actors Guild. So it's extremely competitive. Of course, once you get SAG, once you're a professional actor, now you're getting a professional agent. A lot of agents and managers, they want you to be SAG because now they know that you've been on set. You know how things work on set, even if it was background. But for them, it's really important because you get paid more, and if you get paid more, they get paid more. So it's really important that once you're in the United States, that at some point you become a SAG member. So that's very, very important for actors. So that's SAG. Let's talk about maybe agents, managers.
Why it's important to have an agent, yes, and how to get this agent. I know that you need to have lines as well. What does it mean to have lines, to have a character with lines?
Sure. So let's start with an agent. So we talked about the headshots, the pictures. We talked about SAG, now that you're eligible, and we talked about your reel. Even if it's a small reel, just have something. Something is better than nothing, right? So now you take all of this information and you start searching for an agent. But how do you search for an agent? You can't just like go to CAA, which is the biggest agency in the world. It's CAA is here in Hollywood, in Century City. It's a creative artist agency. Don't even bother going there. They're not even gonna talk to you, look at you, because you're a no name. You're starting at the bottom. So they're not even gonna look at you. So don't bother sending information over there. So how do you find an agent? Well, what I do, in my case, everybody has their own little different ways of doing things. For me, the way I research agents is I go to IMDb Pro, IMDb Pro, and you look for agents. Before you do that, you look at TV shows and feature films, right? You look at some of these actors that look at you, that look like you, based on your age range, 25, 35, your look, and you look at some of these actors that speak different languages. Remember, speaking different languages is a big plus in the United States as an actor, or just in general, as anything. And you look at these shows and you find out where these actors and who these actors are represented by. So you start doing research on these actors, and see exactly what they've done. So once you punch their name into IMDb, you see how long they've been acting, what shows they've been acting, and who their agents and managers are. So you click on that agent of that particular actor, and then you see how many clients they have, and you see where they live, where their office is at. And so you write down that particular agent, and you're basically saying to yourself, so this is my circle of casting. He represents all these people. But you got to bring something obviously different to the table. For me, it was different languages, right? And my theater training and background, that helped. That's how I got an agent for the very first time in Hollywood. But once you start working, once you start getting some clips and some work in the industry, now you're creating some concrete career. Now you're getting somewhere, right? Granted, it's not a leading role, but it's something. So once you find that particular agent based on your look, do a lot of research on that. For example, there's agents that only represent Disney kids, right? Nickelodeon kids, so children. So obviously don't go to those if you're over 18. But there's some shows that it's only like 18 to 25. So if you fall into that category, you look for those actors and who they're being represented by, and you target those agents. So you go to their website. Some agent offices have websites, and on those websites, they'll have submission policies. Some will accept submissions, some will not. Some will accept only reels, those footages that we talked about. And you cannot walk into the office. So don't even do that. You can't just like knock, hello, hi, my name is, Peter, and I'm an actor, don't do that. They're going to throw you out. It looks unprofessional. It looks like you don't know what you're doing. So try to submit yourself through these websites. Another way of submitting yourself when you're in these acting classes, some of these actors already have agents. So ask them, hey, listen, do you think your rep, your agent would like my look? Do you think I can submit? And if that actor says, yeah, sure, I'll give you a referral. A referral is always good, because if an actor refers you, that means that professional actor knows that you're really good, knows that you're not going to embarrass yourself and others, that you're going to act professional on set, and that you're serious about acting. So referrals from other actors or from other friends or people that work in the industry are always good. Referrals are always a plus. So remember that, referrals, if you can get those. Getting an agent is not easy because, again, agents will always look at your resume. And if your resume is small, like really, really small and tiny, not a lot of credits, they're probably going to tell you, you know what, come back to me in about a year, build a lot of credits, and then we see what we can do. So some agents will do that. But let's say you do have a big resume. Let's say you did get that agent, right? And they like you. But remember, you do your research on these agents, see who they represent. So once you get that agent, now you have an agent, you have a SAG card, you're eligible, you paid the $3,000 to be part of the Screen Actors Guild Union. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry, going back to SAG, there's union dues every 6 months. Depends how much you have worked, you have to pay union dues every 6 months. So every April and every October, you have to pay union dues. Everybody does that. All the actors that are part of the union do that. Okay, so now going back to the agent. So now the agent, what does an agent do? Well, he represents you as an actor. He works on the contracts and he looks for work for you as an actor. So every day, Hollywood industry, they have this kind of like it's called breakdown services. So what does that mean? Every day, agents and managers in Hollywood get this information from production offices and from casting directors on what they're looking for. Looking for male, white male, 50s, European looking, able to speak English, or a little bit heavy. So that agent obviously will take that information and he will look on his roster. Who is my client that has that? Aha, he has it. So he'll call the casting director and he says, hey, by the way, I have such and such. I'm going to submit this guy. Let me know what you think. Do you think, can you come to an audition? He'll pitch you for this audition. That's what agents do. They pitch you. They work for you. And agents, once you book this job, let's say, you go to the casting office. Casting offices, they love you. Like, yes, this guy, yeah, we love this guy. Yes, hired. Casting director calls the agent. Agent calls you. You got the job. Congratulations. Now, let's talk about money. So what does that mean? Well, acting jobs depend on their budget. It depends what you've done. It depends what the agent communicated with the production as far as money-wise. So let's say you book a job for $1,000. Well, how much does the agent get? Well, the agent gets 10% of that $1,000, right, for your job. So he gets $100. So agents in United States always, always, always take 10%. No more, no less. Remember this, guys, because there's a lot of scams out there in Hollywood and also in just all over the United States. It's always 10%, not 25. You don't need to pay the agent. Don't ever do that. It's always 10%. I've heard a lot of horror stories where actors would get screwed over by a agent, and he would take 25%, or he would take money from you right away or every month. No, that's a lie. No, no, no. It's always 10%. And you always want to go to a SAG franchised SAG agent, SAG after a franchised agent. That way they have to go by the rules of SAG, and you know that they're not fake, they're not scam artists. So that's an agent. They always fight for you. They fight for the contract, and they're always about how much money they can squeeze out of the production so an actor can get paid for his services. So that is an agent. So agent always gets 10%. Manager, well, what's the difference between an agent and a manager? A manager looks out for you when it comes to your career. They kind of guide you on your career. As they can also submit you, no problem, but they get 15%, not 10. In the United States, they get 15%. So an agent gets 10% of the commission. The manager gets 15%. No matter what you've worked on, let's say agent books you, but manager didn't, they still get 15%.
15, not 50.
15, 1-5,
Okay.
15. Yes. So if an agent books you, if an agent gets you a job, and you go to the casting and you're just great and you got hired, so the agent gets 10%. But if you have a manager, the manager gets 15%. So right off the bat, we're looking at 25% that goes out to your representation. But it's important to have representation because they're the ones that are talking on the phone every single day with Paramount, CBS, Warner Brothers, all Universal Studios, televisions. They're the ones that are on the phone and say, hey, listen, I have this guy. He's great. I think he'll be a great asset. He'll be great on your show. Can we just have him in? Let's bring him in. Let's see what happens. So they're the ones that pitch you. So they do a lot of work. So listen, 10% is not that much,
Like
no
your
problem.
private PR manager. Yes.
Yeah, in a way, exactly. So you start with those guys.
Famous.
I'm sorry?
They are making you famous.
Yeah, they help you get work, right? Because you can't really do it on your own. It's really hard to do it on your own. I mean, you can, but not to the level of an agent, because the agents, they have the contacts, right? They know people, and it's all about contacts. Remember, Hollywood is who you know. It's contacts. It's who you know. Same thing with a manager. So a manager looks out for your career. They make sure that, based on, they have contacts as well. So when they look out for your career, they may tell you, hey, listen, I wouldn't advise doing this project because of such and such and such and such, but it's up to you. So they help you out. They kind of mold your career into becoming, as Nadia said, this superstar, right? So that's the manager's job. And they're very hands-on on your career. They're very helpful, very hands-on. So
how to understand that you are ready for manager?
Again, it's kind of like the same thing with an agent. The manager wants to see what you've done, what's your personality like. Hopefully you're not a problem. Don't go in being all cocky. Be very thankful for the opportunity, because a lot of people don't get that opportunity. There's a lot of actors that don't have agents and managers, not because they're not talented. Some of them are super talented, but they're just not nice people. Some of them are not nice. Some of them, their nose are like, they think they're so great, and there's a lot of people like that, just like every other place. So be very humble. Be very, very humble. Be thankful for everything, because Hollywood is a very tough place. But a manager, so it's the same thing. They want to see your resume. They want to see what you've done. They want to see your reel. They want to see if you're SAG. They'll ask, are you SAG member? Are you a SAG member? No. Okay. Well, come back to us maybe in 6 months, in about a year. Oh, you are a SAG member. Oh, great. Can you send us your resume? Can you send us your reel, your headshots, and what you've done? And then you'll have an interview. And based on that interview, they'll decide, their team will decide if they want to bring you into their office as a client.
Peter, we can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, it's okay.
Can you hear me now? Okay. So yeah, agents and managers, those offices, sometimes there's a lot of people working in 5, 10, 15. Those offices will have to agree. One person can't agree. Like sometimes they all have to agree on you. Like, yes, we love him. He's great. He's awesome. Great personality. Love his resume. Love his reels. Let's bring him on board and let's see what we can do. Let's work together. So that's sometimes those are the big offices. smaller offices, you'll have like 2-3 people, and they'll definitely will interview you as well, kind of like an agent. They'll bring you in. So yeah, so that's the agent, that's the manager.
Maybe we can talk a little bit about your experience in Iron Man 2, because I know you you had just a small role background, but
Sure.
you had a great experience there, and it could be something new for us, and as well.
Sure.
Let's start.
Sure. Okay. So in Hollywood, there is a kind of like a calling service called central casting. It's only for background people, right? Background people. Sometimes it's also for pets. You have a different looking pet that you want to use in a film, or a classic car from 1950s. But it's mostly background, no lines, right? It's a service for actors that are trying to get the SAG-AFTRA, right? To be eligible and later on join as a professional actor. So it's called central casting. You can look it up online, centralcasting.com, I believe. And so you go into this office, you put your information, they take some Polaroids, some pictures of you, and they put you in a database. And after that, you call in, or they will call you based on your luck, or you will call in for looking for work, for background work. So what happened to me, my experience was, it was on a movie called Iron Man 2. I called in, and they needed a lot of people, like maybe 100 people, right? 90 to 100 people, all different shapes and sizes. But remember, this is background, so it's non-speaking. It's, remember the guy I told you about, guys walking in the background? So that's what I went for, right? That was my job, background. So I got this job working on a professional American feature film that's $225 million budget, Iron Man 2, right? So huge, big movie. That experience was so important to me as an actor. Why? Why is that? Well, I learned a lot as an actor. First of all, you pay attention when you're on set, you pay attention to everything as an actor. You pay attention to the director, what he does specifically, how he communicates to actors, if you can hear that conversation, and how the cinematographer works and how he communicates to the director. Well, you're asking me, why is that important? I'm an actor. I don't need to know about cinematography. Well, you kind of do. Because cinematographer will throw out some information to the actor. Hey, I need you stepping over here on such and so, on this mark, on that mark, because the lighting over here is such. So you have to understand the lighting as an actor as well, because the cinematographer, his job is to make sure the actor looks great, the feature film looks great, the lighting looks awesome. That is his job. So like going to, like, let's say short films, you want to make really good friends with the cinematographer, because the cinematographer is going to make you look great. So you don't want to piss off the cinematographer. So you always want to be good friends with the DP. All right, so going back to Iron Man 2. So what I did, I paid attention to all those little things. As an actor, you pay attention to everything, right? So I paid attention to the director, cinematographer. I paid attention to Robert Downey Jr. I paid attention to Sam Rockwell. One of the scenes that we worked on was, I don't know if you guys seen the movie, but in Iron Man 2, Sam Rockwell talks about the army that he created, the Marines, the Navy. And of course, there's nothing there. It's a green screen, right? Because in post-production, they'll add all the CGI information on there. So he talks to the crowd, and we were the crowd, the 100 background people that got hired to be the ground. But in post-production, they'll make it look like it's 1,000 people, right? So I paid attention exactly how the green screen works. I paid attention to the stunt guys. The stunt guys are the guys that do these crazy stunts for Robert Downey Jr., like the flying, on these wires that you can't see. So I paid attention to that as well. So it was a lot of knowledge on this movie, and I worked on it for, I think, 13, 14 days. That's how I got this SAG card. I was so happy. Plus, it was on a big feature film. And I remember specifically, these robots were coming. So the director's like, all right, guys, the droids are coming in. You guys run and scream and run in the other direction. So I'm running with all the other background actors. And I see Ron Howard just standing right there, the director, Ron Howard, just watching, making sure just like how Iron Man is being made. So obviously he's got friends in the business. So he's there, he can be there whenever he wants to. But I'm like running right next to this director, this big director, Ron Howard. I was like, oh my gosh, this is pretty big. This is a giant movie. So that was on day number 2. So that's when I knew it was like, man, I need to be like a sponge, just get all this information to learn as an actor. So that way, when it's my turn to be a leading man, or not necessarily leading man, but working on a feature film as an actor, I know how to communicate to the director. Oh, that's right. That's how he communicated on Iron Man 2. I understand the lingo, because there's a lot of lingo. There's a lot of information even from the wardrobe department. For example, there's information on when you can eat as an actor. There's a lot of lingo that you learn. And remember, those were 13, 14, 15 hours a day for 12, 13 days. I didn't care. I was happy. For me, it was like an acting class, getting paid for an acting class and to understand what's going on, you're getting paid to learn on a real feature film that's being done by professionals. That's going to be seen all over the world for years to come. So that was, if you can get that when you're in Hollywood, I suggest you just don't pay attention to the other actors. When I say actors, I'm talking about the background guys, because sometimes they're jealous, because there's a lot of competition. So everybody wants to succeed in Hollywood. So try not to, just be your own person and soak up a lot of information from the entire set. And sometimes, like on that production, you can't really make friends with these people, because you're not there to make friends. You're there to do a job. And that, for me, it was the background guy just running around, walking and screaming and acting terrified. So I didn't mind that, because that was an education for me, and I got paid, right? So, and I also got the Screen Actors Guild membership out of it, because it was 12 days. It was way over 3 days. It was 12, 13 days. So that became.
What was your scene about?
So it was background, so it wasn't really memorable, and it's not like you can see me, because remember, they use CGI, computer generated images, so they made me look, they took 100 people, and they, in post-production, they made it 1,000, 15, 2,000 people just running around. So you're not going to see it, unless maybe you pause and like, oh yeah, that's right, there goes Peter, so you're just not going to see it. But I didn't care about that. I really didn't. It was more about just studying and watching Robert Downey Jr. perform. Oh my gosh, that man. I mean, he had a monologue for about 5-6 minutes, and his communication with the director, Jon Favreau, and the way they communicated, it was like, but the man has been doing this for decades. Robert Downey Jr., he's a great actor. Sam Rockwell, another great actor. All these guys were great. And that's, so I paid attention as an actor, what he did on every single take, specifically I memorized what he did in the first take, and then I wanted to see the difference on a second take. What changes, what the adjustment was, whether he was given an adjustment by the director or him as an actor adjusted himself. So I paid attention to that. So that was wonderful. That was great.
The good way how to use your background experience. Just to pay attention and learn.
Oh, yes. Learn as much as you possibly can.
I know there are some rules on the set and on audition process.
Yes. So here are, I haven't talked about casting. Do you want me to talk about auditioning, casting in the United States, or just go to the...
Let's start from set. We will finish with the set, and then we can go to the casting.
Okay. So when you're on set, there's a lot of rules, because it's kind of like if you're starting from the very, very bottom, like let's say when I did background on Iron Man 2, That's the lowest. That's the very, very bottom, right? They don't, you could get fired like that. So you try to just not try, you don't try to bring attention to yourself. You try to be a professional, even if it's background, you try to perform as a background artist. Don't talk to the director, don't talk to the actors. Don't try to be on the phone all the time. That's really bad. It's breakfast time, right? Lunchtime. There's a protocol in Hollywood, in the United States, when you're supposed to go eat. For backgrounds, it's usually very, very last. So when it's time to eat, let's say it's lunchtime, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, lunchtime, it's the actors of the movie first. The actors, so it would be like on Iron Man, it would be first Robert Downey Jr., Gwyneth Paltrow, the director, always with the main actors because they want to talk about the next scenes, right? Sam Rockwell. So all the important people, the actors, the very important people, the leads, the director, they eat first. After that, it's the crew, it's the sound guy, it's the lighting guy, it's the cinematographer, it's the wardrobe lady, it's the makeup lady, right? Then they eat. Next in line, it's the SAG background. That means if you're SAG background, you can still work as background. You can work background non-union, or you can work background with this as well. It's up to you, whatever you want. Just don't do too much of it. But then it's the SAG background people, the background guys that eat. After that, it's the non-union background people that don't have this, people that just got to Hollywood, they're just starting out, and they don't really know how things operate. So those are like the very bottom, at the end of the line, people working on the project. So don't try to cut in front of like the director or the actor or the crew member, because they'll tell you like, what are you doing? Your background, what do you do? And they'll go to the production assistant, they'll go to the first AD, and they'll say, hey, listen, this guy cut in. He's supposed to be in the back. Trust me, the people will do this. It's very important that you stick to those rules. And that person will probably get fired or given a warning. So you want to make sure that that you do that. Now, the first AD will tell you that on set. So you're definitely not going to walk into something that you don't know. The production assistants are there for a reason. The PAs, we call them, production assistants. They're kind of the ones that kind of take care of the background people. There's a funny thing. A lot of people say, oh yeah, the PAs are controlling the cattle, the sheep, the sheep herd, because sometimes there's like 50 background, 100 background. So that's kind of the protocol when it comes to rules and etiquette on set. Don't bring your phone on set. Keep it in the holding area. Don't bring a lot of attention to yourself. Pay attention to what the first AD says, and just do what you're asked, and then you'll be fine. But remember, you will always learn and watch, because that's the most important thing to learn when you're on a professional set. But you'll always have production assistants and first ADs tell you pretty much what to do and what not to do.
Tell us also a little bit about your meeting with Matt LeBlanc. You told all these rules, and
so it was a spin-off. It was a while back. It was around this time Iron Man came out. So he had a spin-off show after Friends, and it was called Joey, and so it was time for lunch. So we went for lunch, and it was time for us to go. So we went for lunch, and then I see Matt LeBlanc is coming in, and he's like, he loves burritos. He loves food. Just, hey, I love food too, right? He loves burritos, and I love burritos. So we had burritos for lunch. So I'm eating this burrito, and it was pretty good. And Matt LeBlanc like, hey man, this is a good burrito or what? And I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. It's not bad at all. Oh, thanks, man. I was like, but what's inside? I was like, that's a little spicy. Oh, it's spicy. Okay, I love spicy. So next thing you know, we talk about food, and we chit chat for a little bit about food and what kind of food is being served. Super nice guy, easy to talk to. But I'm not the one that started the conversation. He did. He came to me, so that's okay, right? Because he's the one that's talking to me, and I'm a nobody, right? I mean, just a guy that's working on the show. So, but because some actors don't want to, some actors, you don't want to look at them because they get upset. Some actors don't want to be talked to by background because they're like, who are you? You're just a background. You're not someone big. So sometimes you'll get those actors that their heads are like big. But Matt was awesome. We just talked about food. He was really cool. And that was a fun experience. We just talked about food because we like the same type of food. So it was pretty cool. So that was fun.
Did you keep in your mind all these rules in this conversation or not?
I did. Yeah. I mean, I did. Yeah, because I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to get in trouble? And like, but he didn't care. So I mean, again, that was TV. It wasn't a feature film. That was television, so it's a little bit smaller. But yeah, it was just fun. It was fun to hang out with him for a little bit. So.
Okay, let's go to the audition process and.
Yes. Okay.
Rules.
All right, so guys, actors, auditioning. So this is where you have to shine. This is what it's all about, right? Auditioning, getting that part. So an agent calls you, he tells you, hey, Peter, you have an audition. Here's the information to the office. Knock him dead. That's the saying over here to, knock it out of the ballpark. Make sure it's perfect. So you get, before you go to an audition, sometimes the producers will send the agent or your manager your sides. Your sides is your maybe 4 or 5 pages of dialogue for the show or for the movie or for whatever you're auditioning for. So make sure that you are off book. What do I mean off book? Off book means make sure you memorize. Make sure you memorize those pages. It doesn't have to be 100%, but pretty close. And when you audition, make sure when you go into this room, make sure you have the pages that they sent you with you, just in case. Kind of like because maybe if you did forget something, you can always use this as a backup. But it's always best to memorize. If you're really good with memorizing, perfect. You got it. That's huge. If you're not so good with memorizing lines, then try to work that muscle in class, and try to get really good at it because it's extremely important. So they'll give you about a day, 2, 3 days before the audition. So you have about 2 to 3 days to memorize, to get familiar with the material. Now you go into the office. Let's say your audition is at 2:00 on a Friday. So you go in, you introduce yourself. Hi, how you doing? My name is Peter. Oh, hey, Peter, how's it going? Don't approach the casting director, especially now during the COVID-19. Don't approach, don't touch, don't try to make a small talk. Don't talk about your cat. Don't talk about your family. Don't talk about your girlfriend problems, boyfriend problems. They don't want to hear that. They don't have time for that. The moment you do that, it doesn't look good on you. So try not to do that. Just concentrate what you're there for, which is a job in a movie or a TV, right? That's why you came to Hollywood, right? You can ask a question about the character. Casting director will ask you, okay, are you ready? Do you have any questions? And I always have a question. If I can allow to ask a question, I always ask, yeah, can you tell me a little bit more? So is this a horror or is this a drama? Try to ask maybe one question. Sometimes I always ask, can you tell me a little bit about the character? Or what happened before? Sometimes that helps. And you'll know based on the material that you'll get. So then the question has been answered, and then the casting director will say, okay, whenever you're ready. So you might want to take a deep breath. Sometimes you also want to ask, what's my framing? So you don't want to move to the left. You don't want to walk to the left or to the right because you'll be videotaped. You'll be recorded for the producers. So you don't want to go out of the frame. So just ask them, hey, what's my framing? Is this my framing? Is it tight? And they'll tell you. So you know how to work the room if you have to stand up, sit down, walk around. And then the casting director will say, okay, whenever you're ready, you can take a deep breath, and then you go into your acting work. You do your character, whatever it is. Once you're done, the casting director will either say, thank you very much. Thank you. Or the casting director will say, okay, how about they'll give you a little adjustment like a director. Can you do it a little bit with less emotion? Can you do it a little bit not so big? Just bring it down a tad. Now, why do they do that? Sometimes they do that because they want to see if you're paying attention, if you know how to follow directions, if an actor can follow directions. Or sometimes they'll ask you, realistically speaking, if they like you, they really like you, but they want you to do it a little bit with lower energy, not so big, or maybe opposite. So they'll give you that direction because they want to see you succeed. There's a reason why they're taking their time, a second take of an audition, because they like you. They saw something in you that they're so happy about because they've seen, let's say, 20 other guys or 20 other girls, and they say to themselves, oh, we have something here in their heads. They're like, let's see if you can do it a little bit differently. So that's a big plus. That's not to say that if the very first time the casting director says, okay, thank you, next, that doesn't mean that you were bad. It just maybe they're running low on time, maybe they're behind schedule, or maybe they like you and they're like, okay, we got what we want. I know what I want now, so we know we're gonna bring this guy for a callback. So that's your first day of auditioning. Callback. What is a callback? A callback is if the casting director wants to see you again. Only this time it could be with a director sitting in or a producer sitting in. They want to see exactly why you were called back, what's so special about you. So try to do exactly what you did the very first time at an audition. Exactly. Don't try to change it. Don't try to get cute and try to make it a different character, because eventually what brought you back to the callback, the second audition, is what you did the very first time around, original. So try to stay with the same audition process and the same character, the same tone, the same feel of that particular character that you auditioned for. So that's a good thing. You got a callback. Chances are you're probably competing against 5 guys now or 4 guys. And you go back to your home and then you try to take it out of your mind because it's going to drive you nuts. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, am I going to get this? Am I not going to get it? Don't think that. Don't think like that. Try to put all that stuff away. Try to just start cooking, go on a run, go to the beach, go exercise. Just put all that information out because it's going to drive you nuts. You're going to kill yourself over that. So to try to take that out of your mind, that entire audition process. Now, let's say Monday comes, Tuesday comes, you get a call from an agent. Hey, guess what? You got the part. You got the part. Now it's time to celebrate. You got the part. You're a working actor. You actually beat a lot of actors at an audition. You have an agent. You got a part in Hollywood. That is a big, big, big step. That's a monumental step in the career of an actor. Because now, not only are you going to get paid, not only are you going to get to work on set on a professional SAG production, now you'll have professional footage. So now you can actually get that footage on your reel. Now you're building that resume. Now you're building that career. Now the agent can also say for next audition, oh yeah, he just booked a series, he just booked a role on such and such sitcom or a feature film. Yeah, he's really good. Let me show you what he's done. Now you're building a career in Hollywood. Sometimes it's amazing. Sometimes when you book that first role, next thing you know, it snowballs into a second one, a third one, a fourth one, a fifth one. And next thing you know, you become a working actor. Sometimes you see the same exact actors, because remember I talked about circle of casting, what your look is? Sometimes when I go to auditions, I'm like, oh my gosh, that guy looks like me. It's this white guy, thin, 5'10", 5 feet, 10 inches tall, with facial expressions. So sometimes I would see guys that kind of look like me. So I know they're kind of looking for the same kind of a look. Sometimes you'll see your friends at the same audition. Try not to socialize in the waiting area for an audition, because then they will take you out of that feel of the audition, because you want to concentrate on your work. Don't try to talk about what happened last week at a party, at this guy's party, or don't try to talk about the soccer game or whatnot. Just remember, you're there for a reason. Try to be professional. This is why you're there. Auditions are not easy to come by. There's a lot of competition. So yeah, and be very thankful. After you get the part, say thank you to the after the audition. When the casting director says thank you so much, say thank them. It's like, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And that's it. And go out. It's amazing what a little kindness and a little humbleness will, how far it will take you in the industry. Don't start, after the audition, don't start, hey, do you think I did well? Oh, I can do it again. No, don't do that, because that's going to make you look weak, not as a very strong actor. It's going to make you look very green. When I mean very green, I'm talking like very new to the industry. So what I try to do is I try to just be very professional. Thank you so much. I really appreciate, and just leave. Just really leave real quick. So that way.
Professional in and out principle?
I'm sorry?
Is it a professional in and out principle? Just make.
I mean, even some of the big names do the same exact thing. I've seen, sometimes I would sit in at a casting and I would see actors, even the celebrities, they would just go in and out. There's no small talk. There's no small, because there's no time. There's really no time. Oh, by the way, guys, so if you ever get a chance to work for a casting office, you can see exactly what's going on at the auditions. Like, for example, what I did was I sat in and helped some other actors read with them, except they were auditioning. I was just helping off the frame, helping them audition, reading the lines as if I was auditioning. So if you can get a job like that, I'm sorry?
It's your dream.
Yeah. So I mean, and I got a job doing that, working in a feature film as a lead. So it's amazing how things sometimes. Tell
us a little bit about this experience. How actors could move their career forward. What some small tricks?
Yeah. So my very first experience getting a role on a feature film as the lead, that was huge for me. I was so happy to get that. What happened was, there was a movie that was being cast, and I knew the person that was creating this room for the casting director, that was basically paying for the room for the casting director. But they needed someone to help the other actors. The director was actually casting. The director needed someone to read the lines for the other actors. So what I did, I volunteered. It's like, hey, I can, I'm an actor. I can help you with the auditions. I can read all the lines and help out the actor that's auditioning. The director's like, okay, great. So the director's sitting, right? There's the camera, and I'm next to the camera, off the frame, helping the actor. So the actor comes in, and let's say for this particular scene, it was a mom, and she was dying. She was dying. She had cancer, and she was on her deathbed. And so she wasn't crying, but off frame, the scene was that I was crying. So what I did, obviously she wasn't looking into the camera. She was looking at me, the actor. And so I was reading the lines as if I was her son, as if I was auditioning. Even though the camera wasn't on me, it helped her a lot, because I gave her tears, because it was my mom dying in the scene. So I gave her tears and that emotion that she needed to perform very well on her end. So when I gave her those colors, right away, the audition just cranked up by a notch or two. It was more believable, it was more organic, and it helped her a lot. To a point where after the audition, she said, wow, thank you so much for helping me out. I really loved the tears, and helped me so much. And the director is paying attention to all of this. He's not saying anything. Day one, we had like 3-4 days of auditions. Day one, he didn't say anything, but I helped every single day. Another scene audition for this another actor was me telling, it was a celebrity, me telling this guy not to kill himself. So I was begging, I was like, look, man, don't do it, man. And I gave so much emotion, as if I was auditioning. So I gave that emotion to this actor, and it helped him as an actor for the audition as well, to the point where he complimented me. He was like, wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much for actually being in the scene with me. Because a lot of people that when you go on regular auditions in the casting room, it's usually the casting director that reads. The casting directors aren't actors, right? The casting directors are there to cast you based on what you can do. But when they read to the actor that's auditioning, they read like this. Yes, I know you're sick. I don't really care about that, but that doesn't mean that you have to die. So there's no feeling. It's like a robot. So how is an actor supposed to, give 100%? Well, you got to learn how to do that, because you're not going to get what I gave to those actors. I gave them everything as if I was auditioning, and it helped them a lot. So day number 3, day number 4, the director comes up to me and he's like, you did a pretty good job. I was like, oh, wow, thanks. That's all he told me. He's like, yeah, you did a pretty good job. I was like, oh, great. So I really wanted to be part of this film for maybe 1 line or 2 lines or 3 lines. He calls my agent and tells my agent, he's like, yeah, I want to hire him. He's going to be our lead in a feature film. Agent calls me and tells me that I was in Santa Monica. I was on Santa Monica Pier at that time. He calls me, my agent's like, hey, I got some great news. I'm like, I'm already depressed, because I'm like, I'm probably not going to get 1 line or 2 lines in this movie. The agent calls me. He's like, I got some great news. Yeah, you got the, remember that thing that you were reading for, that movie, that film? I'm like, yeah, what about it? Well, you got the part. I'm like, oh, what? How? I didn't even audition. He's like, no, you got the part. And it's not just 2-3 lines. No, this is for a lead role. I'm like, what? This is for a lead role? I was so excited. I was like, but how? He's like, apparently he loved what you did as an actor, giving all those emotions to that actor in front of you that was auditioning for the part. He said that if you can do that off screen, off the camera, then he really wanted to see what you can do in front of the camera. So he was like, he knew that he was going to hire me day 1. He just didn't tell me that. Maybe it was for the right reason, because maybe the day 2, day 3, I wouldn't be, like all into like giving all that emotion to these actors. But that's how I got my first leading role in a feature film called WWJD, What Would Jesus Do? So it was a film that's on Amazon Prime, on all these platforms, and it was an experience of a lifetime. I've learned so much on that movie. We worked 13 days. The budget was enough for 13 days. We finished the movie in 12 days. So the producers were very, very happy. But boy, did I learn so much. I learned how to communicate with the director on a professional set. I learned how to communicate with a DP, director of photography. I learned about lighting. I learned a lot about myself as an actor, what I'm comfortable with, what I'm not comfortable with, what I'm supposed to work a little bit more. There's some stuff that you don't feel comfortable, but you need to be comfortable, because chances are you're going to have to do this exact same thing on the next project. So I've learned a lot. And on the very last day, on day number 12, as being the lead, you don't really have to do this, but I encourage this very much so. You thank everybody. On the very last day, the very last shot, we're done. I went up to every single person that was involved and shook their hand and said, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your work. Thank you. The art department, the wardrobe, the person that cooks the food, the production assistant, the director, everybody. I thanked makeup person. Thank you so much. Why did I do that? Because they have jobs, and their job is to make you look good and to make your movie look great. It's a collaborative team. And thanking them was my appreciation of what they've done, because they worked really hard. I mean, we worked 12, 13 hours sometimes a day. So I was very, very thankful that they worked with me. I wanted to be humble, because this is a very humble business. So you have to be humble and you have to be thankful. because not a lot of people want to work with assholes, you know, not a lot of people want to work with people with big heads. They want to work with people that are thankful. So
Peter, how much time did it take for you to go from the background in Iron Man 2 to the lead role? How much years it takes?
it took a while. It took about 7-8 years. It took about 7-8 years. And I know you guys are probably saying, oh my gosh, that's a long time. It is, but you know what? It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to be successful. You're not going to be famous. By the way, if you're in it to be famous, forget about it. Don't even bother going to Hollywood, because they don't want that. They want talent. They want passion. They want hardworking people. So if you're in it to be famous, you might as well just don't do it, because that's not going to happen. Passion is what and the drive that you have is what works. But it took 7-8 years, and that's the magic number. 7 years is usually what producers, directors, and casting directors tell actors. It takes time for you to get noticed by people in the industry. Once you start doing those little commercials, once you start doing those little roles in these movies, the casting directors, the people, the producers, the directors, they pay attention. They watch movies, especially now. Everyone's sitting at home watching movies here in Hollywood. So they pay attention to these actors, and they jot down, oh, I need to know about this actor. Oh, this guy would be good for this project. So they do pay attention. But remember, that takes time. Those classes that I told you about, 3 years. 3 years. My confidence was shot up. Not that I was shy, but it helped me a lot. 3 years is a long time as well. But that's how long it takes. For some, it will be much quicker, just because they're very good looking. So for those people, it will be much quicker. But we're not all models, right? We're not all super models. So it's going to happen a little bit slower. But then that's most of the actors in Hollywood. No one's in it thinking that they're going to be superstars overnight. That's just not going to happen. So it takes time. It takes time for you.
Peter, how does your personal story could help you, or maybe pull you back? How it was it for you, and maybe somebody can help. Your story could help for somebody, because I know that your family was against this war.
Yes. So let's talk about that. I told you guys that I wanted to be an actor since I was about 9-10 years old. I just didn't know how to go about it. But my parents always knew that I like to dress up, right? I like to be someone else, like the king. When I was young, I used to be in these school plays, right? And I really loved that so much. So my family thought, oh, he just likes, this acting stuff. It's just like maybe a phase. He'll get out of it when he's like 17, 16. He would want to become a doctor. He would want to become a lawyer. He would want to become someone working in the office, professional, business tie. But that's not me. That was never me. And my family had a really hard time understanding that. They weren't always 100% behind me. They weren't always supporting my career. And you're gonna have a lot of that in the family. My dad told me, acting, what is this? So you're better at winning a lottery ticket. Forget about acting. I had other family members telling me, get this shit out of your head. This is pathetic. What are you doing? You're stupid. So your family can be your worst fans, if you know what I mean. They're not exactly gonna help you elevate you to be the best you can, because sometimes they don't understand. My family they have a hard time understanding the business, so I have to explain it to them, and sometimes that's very difficult as well. So try not to listen to your family too much, because it can get into your head. So you don't want to do that. Those are big roadblocks. You don't want that. They did not support me for a very, very long time. Once I got the movie, once I got those little things here, and then they were like, oh, wow, I always knew you could do it. No, you didn't. But it's family. You love them. What are you going to do, right? but try to listen to your peers, your actor friends, your director friends, people within your circle that really do believe in you, because you don't want that negativity. And try not to rely on family members. You know yourself, you know what you can do. They don't, you do. And if it's your passion, then you know your passion. They might not know it, but you do. And then you surround yourself with other actors, and you're in the same boat with the other actors. They're not going to put you down. In fact, they'll help you. They'll elevate you as much as they possibly can. So, but it was really hard for them for family to support me. It was very, very hard. Yeah.
How could your personal drama help your career if you are an actor?
Yeah. So if you've had, as an actor, if you've had a lot of horrible things happen to you, when I mean horrible things, I'm talking about a family member passing away, maybe there was an accident, someone has this horrible illness that you have to deal with and help that person through. If you have seen in your lifetime such horrible things that brought you down to your tears, use that as an actor. Use those organic emotions and have them in your back pocket so you can always take them out during an audition, during a play, during a movie, a TV series, because that will help in front of the camera. For example, my dad passed away when I was in my early to mid 20s. He died of cancer. And that changed me as a person and of course as an actor. It changed me in a way that anytime that there's a scene or an audition that calls for an extremely emotional scene. I'm not talking about extremely like, I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking not hysterical, but I'm talking about just like the subtleness of it. I always go back to my dad when he passed away. It's a scene where I only give, and this helped me a lot. My dad passed away. We were, taking him to the funeral, to the cemetery, and I held those tears. I remember holding those tears, holding his picture, and being in front of the coffin and the pallbearers. I remember holding it because I didn't want to show those emotions to my family, right? I didn't want to show those emotions to my friends, and I thought that was going to be very kind of like, look at him, he's crying, right? Like I was still young, right? I mean, I didn't know that you can show emotions, but I always remembered that time holding those tears back, and I always went to that day that my dad passed away. And so when I have that scene, if it's something horrible happening when the director's like, Peter, can you give me maybe like 2-3 tears, just maybe over here, just so we don't, it's an emotional scene. Yeah, you got it, no problem. So I always go, so the director yells, and action. So I go back to those times, to that day, and next thing you know, the tears start to fall. And I can produce those tears in about 5-6 seconds. So I always go back to that day, to that time of my dad's passing and what I felt like. It's a very, you have to know when to shut that down as well. It's a very drenching, emotional, physically, psychologically feeling. It's a very drenching feeling, and you feel tired afterwards. But you know what? On camera, it looks fantastic. It looks awesome. And I've gotten a lot of compliments from a director of going back to that. They don't know. Director doesn't know. No one's going to know. But I will know as an actor. That's where I went. That's what it takes to get those tears out for that particular scene. So that's one of the things that I always keep in my back pocket. So if you have those emotions, if you can produce those tears, those subtle tears, I suggest you definitely use them in your reels, in your acting, because after all, people love emotion, right? People pay money to see human emotion, and they can relate to that. And so I definitely, so that's my experience when it comes to those particular scenes, using real life experience in front of the camera. So, but remember, guys,
dangerous to use your psychology.
It is. Those emotions are very, so you have to be, and that's where the classes come in too. So you have to be able to shut when the director yells and cut. So you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. So, and then you start joking around and so you have to know when to shut it down really quick. I've noticed a lot of people have a hard time doing that because they still remember about, they're still thinking about that situation, whatever happened that made them cry, and they cannot get out of it. I've seen guys do it. I've seen guys do it in their 30s, 40s, 50s. They can't shut it down. It's just impossible for them to shut it down. But as an actor, you have to learn to shut that emotion down, because guess what? The director says, and yeah, we're good. Now we're gonna, next take is gonna be you laughing and you're having a great time. So you gotta shut that emotion down, and you gotta move on to the next scene. But yeah, it is hard, and it's drenching emotionally and physically. And at the end of the day, you will feel spent. You'll feel so tired. But you got to do it. You're an actor, so got to do it.
How to understand what is your casting circle? You told a little bit about. Maybe you have some details.
Yeah. So the circle of casting. So I learned about circle of casting at my school, the Beverly Playhouse. So basically, what it is, it's let's use myself. So my circle of casting would consist of a white guy, thin, 25 to 34 age range, because they want to know your age range, how you look, and your eye color, your hair color, if you have a mustache, if you have a beard, clean shaven, if you're athletic, slim, heavy, a little bit bigger. So my circle of casting would be thin, athletic, 25 to 34 age range, a white male. So that is my circle of casting. So those are details about me, what I look like, and how I would how I would be portrayed in front of the camera on these feature films and TV shows. So that is circle of casting. So it's details about you physically, how you look, your age range, your face, how it looks, your body type. So that would be your age circle of casting. So for women, it would be pretty much the same thing. Long hair, short hair, eye color, African American, Hispanic, American, heavy set, thin, athletic. So that's basically circle of casting. When we talk about circle of casting, is those are your details about you, and that's how casting directors see you pretty much. That's the circle of casting. Oh wow, he would be good in on this new TV show about the army, because he has short hair, or he would be really good at in this horror film because he has this evil face. That is his circle of casting. So basically, it's your type. What types of roles you would play? What types of roles you would play in feature films and TV? So not everybody obviously is going to have the same circle of casting. Children have their own. Different types of people have their own. So, but you always want to bring something specific to the table besides your circle of casting, which is, like I said, different languages. If you can speak different languages, that's a big plus, because now that expands you in a role. Now you can play different types of roles. So that's always a plus. So
what if you are from a theater? Yes, you are. You can tell about how to change this theatrical way of acting to the movie.
Yeah. So I started doing plays on stage, theater. So you guys know, you actors know that stage, theater, it's everything big. It's big. The acting's big. Well, why is it big? Well, the audience is right there, right? They got to hear you. The audience all the way in the back, they have to hear you. So you're used to performing big. Everything is giant. Your performances are giant. Your head movements are giant. Your laughing is huge, right? It's almost too much, but it needs to be done, right? So when you make the transition from theater stage to film, it might be a problem for some actors. For me, I've learned that you got to be, for TV and especially television, but it goes same thing for feature films. Television will have you really tight. Like your face, the camera will bring you really tight on TV because they want to see that tear, or they want to see that little smirk down here. But it has to be subtle. It can be big, like in theater. If it's big, it's overacting, and it looks like you can't act. Even though theater actors are one of the best actors in the world, I love theater. But making that transition, those stage actors, the theater actors will have to make is to make everything small, very, very small. Your hand movements have to be a little bit smaller. They can't go like that because on camera it just looks too big, and it's distracting, and the performance is not going to be good on television or film. So when the camera goes in tight, and you'll know when you're working on a feature film, the director will tell you, or the DP will tell you, hey, by the way, Peter, we're going to have you really tight. So because this is the emotion scene, or this is like when you're lying and, kind of like the actor gives you that like lying look. So it has to be very, very subtle. Even the smallest little twitch will be big on television. Twitch on the lip, twitch on the nose, your eyelids, all that stuff will be big. And of course it defines the character. It defines the character. So make sure that when you're coming from stage and theater to learn to make things much, 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 much smaller. You go really, really small. Sometimes the director will even tell you, he's like, yeah, you know what, that was too big. Can you bring it like maybe 25% down? Bring it to 50% down because that was too big because we got you really tight. So we don't want you, overacting, because it can seem like you're overacting if you're making gestures too big or the smile too big. It has to be very, very subtle. So you have to learn that. So that's a huge, huge difference. And same thing with the voice. On stage, you vocalize much more loudly, whereas on film, on set, you have the boom right above you. So there's no need to yell. There's no need to shout. You can talk like that. It's really fine. It's not a big deal. And boom will pick it up. And it might sound to you like it's slow, but to the guys in post-production and audio, it's huge. So you can even bring your voice down as well. So
I know that you have a good exercise. Maybe you can show us how to make your emotion mood right now for a few seconds. And
sure.
Maybe you can tell about some tricks with the agents. You tell me how to move your career forward. And,
okay, so are you talking about acting exercises or?
yes. Maybe some exercise which you can show us.
Sure. So let's talk about exercises. So for actors, this is what I've learned. It helped me a lot at the Beverly Hills Playhouse. So when I first joined the Beverly Hills Playhouse, the school for acting, I had to do some exercises. Well, what were those exercises? Well, the first exercise was to learn about yourself, about me. What am I doing wrong here? So okay. So one of the exercises was for me to, on stage, jump up and down and sing my favorite song. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be happy birthday to you, happy birthday, whatever song it is, your favorite song, whatever you feel comfortable with, you start singing that song. You jump up and down and you start singing for about 3, 4, 5 circles. And then you stop. The teacher tells you stop. And then you stop in front of the class and you stand straight. So you stand like this, right? You stand straight and you look at every single actor in your class, as well as an instructor, one by one. So after that 4 or 5 minute run, round and round and round in circle, and you're singing your favorite song, you stop. So obviously you're like, just looking at everybody. And then you slowly get a little comfortable or uncomfortable. And sometimes you will notice that your hand, as you're standing, sometimes you start twitching. Maybe that's nervousness. Maybe you feel uncomfortable. But why is that happening? Well, it's happening because you don't know any of these people. This is the first time you're seeing these people. And they might judge you. You don't know. They might not judge you. They might, God knows what they're thinking about you. And so you're afraid. You start to feel like, oh my gosh, they're all looking at me. And I don't know anyone here. And then sometimes you start to cry. Sometimes your lip starts to twitch. Sometimes your shoulder goes like this because you're nervous. And that's how you learn about yourself. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. I do that when I'm nervous. So you try to relax, right? And sometimes a lot of girls would start to cry, I've noticed in class. And it's because of their emotional breakup of their boyfriend or their father issues, their mom issues. So a lot of women would start to cry. But there's a reason for that. Now you know that this is what it makes you do, like the crying and the twitching and whatnot. Now you have some colors that you can use in your acting. So now you go to those places and you learn about yourself. Oh my gosh, I feel uncomfortable right here. So if there's a scene where it calls for me to feel uncomfortable, I can always go back to that class, to that exercise. And now I can feel uncomfortable. So then you go back to that. And then your lips move and then you start to cry. So you can use that. That's one of the exercises to get to know about yourself, who you are, what makes you uncomfortable, what makes you comfortable, what makes you feel like, like you don't really want to be here, So now you always can go back to that place. It's a great exercise. I love that exercise. Second exercise, what we had to do is we had to, it's called Person and a Place. The first one was called Song and Dance. This one is called, the second exercise is called Person and a Place. So what we would have to do, we would bring all of our favorite items from our room, from our home. Not pets or anything like that, but like your favorite pillow, your favorite phone, your favorite pen, your favorite bottle, your favorite whatever, a bag, whatever is your favorite item that you love to have, that you love. You bring that and you create a little space on stage, a little space, kind of like your little room. You bring, like in class, we had like black blocks, square blocks. So we would set it up kind of like our little room. And I would bring my favorite bottle, my favorite phone. I would bring my favorite pen, my favorite shirt, a blanket or whatever. And then the exercise is all of a sudden, right? So you're acting, so you're on stage, you're just like, you're pretending like you're writing something. You're on your phone, talking to your friend, you're relaxing. And next thing you know, you get a telephone call. And that telephone call is a horrible, horrible tragedy. Your entire family has been killed. It doesn't matter how. Fire, someone shot them, cancer, car accident, but they're all dead. No one survived. Your mother, your mom, your sister, your grandpa, they're all dead. You have nobody. That is the tragedy. And how you react to that tragedy, you will learn about your acting. Because that tragedy will eventually make you feel pissed off, like you want to beat the crap out of this desk or this table or this chair or the television. A lot of women would start throwing stuff. Maybe you want to throw stuff. How do you deal with this crisis, with this tragedy? A lot of people would just go like, they will go into that silent, just by themselves. A lot of people will start to just shout. Everyone's different. And that's another color that you can use to bring into your future scenes, your future acting. I've seen guys, big guys in their 30s, 6'4", big, giant men, just cry like little babies. Just and I've never seen that. It's phenomenal. It's fantastic to see these huge men cry like they're 10-year-old kids. I've seen that, and it's all organic. It's all real. There's tears, and women would start screaming and yelling, and everybody is different. So for me, what I did, I started throwing stuff, and you can do that in class. You can start throwing. Throw your book, throw your bag, show those emotions. So that was another exercise that we did.
How this
which was
knowledge
very
can help you?
I'm sorry?
How those knowledge can help you in your acting?
Yeah. So some people will. Yeah. So some people will learn to. Some people will already have that in them, and some don't. If you've experienced such loss, that exercise was really for people that haven't experienced such big loss. And so they would go into their my dog died, so because some actors are young, 19, 20 years old, they're not going to have parents dying, or so they haven't lived that long to experience such loss. But someone in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, obviously they've lived a little bit, so they have that experience. The way it helped me, in a movie that I did, that I had to throw a Bible, I had to throw a book, and I was just so pissed off, and I knew exactly what the scene was about, but I also went back to that exercise that I did in class. So that scene, I mean, the exercise that I did, I took it out from that time and I brought it into the scene, and it was, I mean, you saw it. I mean, it was just nasty, just like kind of, I don't give a shit about anybody. I don't give a crap about it. It's like, screw everybody else. I don't want to live anymore, and I know what's going on inside, but the audience is not going to know what I'm thinking. They're thinking what's going on with the scene, but what's going on internally is my family being dead, and I don't have anybody, and this is it. And then everything just comes out organically. So that helped me a lot. Another thing I forgot to tell you guys, improv. Improv is really, really big in Hollywood. It's really a huge chunk of an actor's knowledge and part of his palette of colors. You have to have improvisational skills. What is improv? Improv is an exercise where an instructor, let's say, puts you in front of the class, gives you a scene, a scenario. For example, a guy and a girl, you don't like your boyfriend because he cheated on you. Boyfriend says that's not true. Absolutely not. But it was her sister. So there's that like little it was her sister, but she doesn't know that. So you try to deny it. And then you go, and then you try to do that scene, and then you kind of, the emotions come out from all over the place. It's not a scripted scene. It's just a improvisational scene. So you basically act as if it was for real, but you have some information in your head about someone that other person doesn't know. So you improvise. You improvise about lying. You improvise about the real situation. You try to not talk about the situation. Oh no, I didn't cheat on the girl. What are you talking about? I did not do. What? No, but that wasn't me. That was my best friend. You just make shit up as you go along, and that helps you in your acting so much, because there are some scenes that you need to use your improv skills. For example, sometimes the writing is not so good, so it's kind of your job as an actor to make it look really great. So sometimes you have to add some lines, not too many lines, because it's. But by the way, I don't do that all the time. But sometimes you add little lines, like, for example, the line is written, you know what? F you, fuck you. but it's not strong enough. So you might want to add, you know what, F you, fuck you, I'm done. Those little lines, it's just something a little extra. So you want to do a lot of improv work. So if your school offers it, if you guys have access and if you guys can do improv, if your instructor lets you, absolutely do improv. It's fun. You learn so much about yourself as well doing improv exercises. And you got to have that on your resume as well as an actor. So just like with pictures and your reel, your footage. So improv skills.
So finally, some tricks if your movie already in the theater and you are a little star, how can you work with all this stuff which you have already?
So I have a movie, and how can I?
How can you use it? For example, you have an agent or you don't have an agent.
Okay. So you have this movie. Chances are you probably have an agent if you have a movie coming out. So chances are you most likely have an agent, a lawyer, manager, publicist, you name it. But that's like the big actors. So once you have a movie, you definitely want to invite a lot of people in the entertainment industry to your showing, to your screening, whether it's a director, producer, casting director, writer, no matter what. You definitely want to invite your entire entertainment industry to see your film, to showcase what you can do as an actor, because you don't know who's sitting back there watching you perform. Sometimes it could be a big producer, a big casting director, and they're like, yeah, I like this guy, I like this girl. And they'll call you, or they'll call your agent and manager, and they'll want to work with you at some point. So you definitely want to invite those people. And even if it's a commercial, you definitely want to showcase that commercial to the people in the entertainment industry, TV series as well, always. And always try to remember, guys, always be kind and always be humble in this entertainment industry. It may seem like it's a huge, enormous industry, Hollywood. It's really not, guys. It's really tiny, small. It's people working with the same people over and over and over again. Some of these people have been in the business for 30, 40, 50 years. So remember, you don't want to piss anybody off. Don't want to step on someone's feet, because you don't know who you're going to meet down the line. Because that person will always remember, oh yeah, that's right, Peter, that's right, he was an asshole on that set, man. He was making fun of me. Yeah, screw him. I'm not working with him again. And that's it. Always remember you as this asshole, and then your chances of getting future work is gone. So you definitely want to be always thankful and humble. But you were talking about so once you have those movies, yeah, you definitely want to showcase your work, whatever you've done. It doesn't have to be a big movie. It doesn't have to be, even your short films. As students, you definitely want to showcase that to the people in your industry in Ukraine. I did want to throw out for you guys, there is a casting director by the name of Nancy Bishop. She's a casting director in Romania, I believe. So she casts for you.
Peter, wait, could you please write this name in the chat?
Yeah.
It could be helpful for our actors.
Yes, her name is Nancy Bishop, and she casts big movies and small movies in Romania and in Russia, in Ukraine, and in Poland as well. And so she's been there. She's from the United States. She's from the United States, and she came to Europe, I think, almost after the wall came down. So because that's when things opened up. And so she casts feature films in different languages, as well as in Russian, a couple in Polish, German. So yeah, definitely you guys check those out. She's on Instagram, she's on Facebook, and look her up on YouTube as well. So but yeah, definitely follow her on Instagram if you guys have Instagram account. Nancy Bishop. So yeah, so that's one of the casting directors that you guys should look up.
I think we can finish. I want to be sure that we don't have any questions. Wait,
Sure.
please. A minute.
Sure, any questions, whatever you guys want.
We have a question from Sonia. Sonia is hiding somewhere. Maybe you can open your camera, because, sorry. Соня, может, вы сможете открыть свою камеру, потому что странно общаться с пустыми обложками. Человеку не совсем комфортно.
Hello. Hello, Julia. Dzień dobry, Julia.
It doesn't matter, Julia, everything's okay.
I'm sorry, it doesn't matter what?
It doesn't matter, Julia or Julia, everything.
Oh, Julia, okay.
That's good.
I had a Julia Castananza in my acting class at Beverly Hills Playhouse. She was, I believe she was actually from Ukraine, I believe.
Oh.
Yeah, she came here when she was young as well, like myself, but she was an actress. So what's your question?
Well, I don't know, I was thinking about asking you that, but judging from all I heard today, I think you never experienced that, but just in case you did, because I as hell did experience that for sure. What if you have to play some scene and you just don't feel it? Well, it's just not there for you. What do you do then? Are there any like emergency tricks how to get this feeling, how to bring these feelings?
Give me a specific feeling. What's the feeling? Specific.
I don't know, any feeling, or for example, judging from my experience, if you have to feel something that you just don't feel right now, like we were filming a comedy and I have just recently lost my father then, and I didn't feel like playing comedy at all, and all the crew was wondering what the hell is going on with the girl. Gosh.
Right. Okay, so yeah, you know, comedy is hard. Comedy is not easy. I love people who can do comedy because, man, it is not easy, because either you're good or you're not. That's it, right? So it depends. There are some tricks. It depends specifically what the degree of the crying or the level of the crying is. If it's comedy, it depends what the feel of the entire show is, or the writing. If it's supposed to be big, then make it big. If it's supposed to be, give me the scene. Like, what happened? Like, was it who passed away, or what happened? Why were you crying?
No, it's not that I was crying. I had to play comedy, but in real life, I have lost my father just recently, and
okay.
I didn't feel like laughing at all. I felt like crying. I thought, oh my God, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. So what I do, the day before of the scene, because you get the lines the day before, what I do is I practice in the mirror by myself. Different types of emotions, and if it's a comedy, don't try to practice it in front of people, because, especially family members, because they'll say, "Oh, you're great." No, don't listen to that. But try to, if you have enough time with your sides, with the scene, where you can actually rehearse with other actors, because there's always something you can find with other actors that you didn't know you had. Oh, that's right, I didn't know I could do that. Or like, oh wow, I didn't know I had that. I could use that in that scene. And always, and I would always ask the director, like, can you just communicate with the director, like, tell me exactly what you need from me, what you want from me. Communication is always the key. Especially a good director will give you specific instructions and directions and adjustments. Not something like, oh, go, just laugh. Well, okay, yeah, I mean, there's different degrees of laughing. What do you want? Because as actors, we have a palette and we have different colors. So tell me exactly what you want, because I can give that to you. So you just lost your dad. How recently did you lose your dad?
Like a couple of months.
Couple of months. So yeah, it's extremely fresh. So yeah, I mean, comedy after you lose your dad is, yeah, it's very, very difficult no matter who you are. But as an actor, you got to go there, and forget about what the guys are laughing at you or this. Who cares about them? This is your moment. This is you. This is just between you and the director and the person that you're acting with. So if you can, just with the person that you're acting with, if you can step outside off the set and privately just rehearse a couple of times here and just try different degrees of what you want to do, it will come out. Just make sure you're away from the set, right? And then just have in your mind, like, okay, so this is what I need to do. This is how we rehearsed a few hours ago, or the scene, or right 10 minutes ago. And don't listen to anybody. Remember, don't listen to these guys, to the lighting guys, to the, there might be smoking cigarettes, joking around, talking about politics, sports, that's their thing. Your thing is acting. Your thing is to look good in front of the camera and to sell it. So if you can rehearse with your acting partner, and hopefully it's a really good acting partner, because sometimes some actors like, I don't want to rehearse, I just want to go. So, but if you can do that, then I would definitely recommend and just testing out those little adjustment areas where you can practice those, the uncomfortable, laughter, like, like, yeah. That's, if it's funny, it depends what it is. I just need to, like, I would love to show it to you right there, man. I wish I was there too, to show you guys. But if you can do that, if you can practice with a scene partner and also get some communication from the director on a side, obviously this is private, so you want to do it privately. I would definitely recommend that. But that's a good question, because it's not you, it's everybody like that. So it's me, other actors. It's just, you have to find yourself what kind of trick you can pull out of your back pocket that will help you with that. And once you get it, you will always know for the future. You will always know how to use that over and over and over and over again. It will never become old, because that muscle is being trained in your head. So, good question.
I have an opposite question. How to get tears if you need to cry right now, but you can't?
Yeah. So there you go, Yulia. There you go. So you should be great at any scene right now that requires crying.
So easy for me. I'm telling you, just like that.
Yeah, it's perfect. But remember, you got to remember. I know it's gonna be so tough. It's gonna be so tough to shut it down. But if there's a scene in the next few months, years, if it's a scene where you have to cry, somebody died, or it's a tragic moment, and it's a scene where you require tears, you can actually control how many tears. You'd be surprised, but you can control how many tears your eyes spit out. So sometimes it will most likely start from here, and then a couple of will come out secondary from the left and the right on this side. So, but you can actually control that depending how long of a scene it is and what's required. But you should be perfect right now. So if there's a scene or an audition right now in the future for you, or even if you want to write your own little scene and have someone shoot it professionally, you try to make it professional, and write your own scene. Maybe it is your dad in the scene that's dying. Maybe it's your sister. Make sure your frame is really tight so we can see those tears, so we can see in your eyes that emotion, because your eyes are the soul to your heart. So we need to see those emotions. And once we see those emotions as human beings, we're like, oh my God. We relate to that. And that's why we pay that money. That's what we want to see. And it's going to be a phenomenal scene, because you just went through something that is, for a human being to lose a parent. I don't know. I mean, that's the top of the, there's nothing else than losing your parent that raised you. And if you can use that in your scenes, and you perfect it, and you can use it, and you can turn it up. You got to shut it. Don't, because next scene could be something else that does not require crying. So you have to shut it off real quick. If you can do that, you're ahead than most actors. Then you got it made. for sure.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it was a question from other person.
Yes.
Who has a poor internet connection, but as I understood, she has a problem with crying. She can't cry. And
How old is she?
Maybe she can write for me.
Ile pani ma lat?
Unfortunately, I don't know. Sorry.
Okay, so not a problem. So she has a
25. I haven't. Yeah.
How old?
25.
25. Okay, so my suggestion to her would be, she probably had a boyfriend, right? Most likely she had a boyfriend. She probably broke up with that boyfriend, right? Probably. She can use those instances as a heartbreak moment. A loss of an individual like Yulia. So I don't know what her story is, but if she has a really hard time crying, you know, there's I don't recommend that, but there were some actors that used to in some TV shows in the United States, they would put onions, cut up fresh onions underneath where camera can't see. So it affects other actors. I don't recommend that, but that's like the biggest thing that, like, if you really can't cry, then you would put onions, you know, spray onions and then go to the scene. You know, just put onions, you know, all over your just right in your face, and then go into the scene. Try to do it away from people because everybody else is going to have teary eyes. That's like if you cannot absolutely have, if you have no emotion, if you can't cry, if you've never experienced any loss of a pet, boyfriend, girlfriend, parent, loss of something that's dear to you, if you have nothing to build on for those tears, then I would just try to get into those acting classes. You know, just you have to perform that. You can't just like tell the director, hold on a second, hold on, give me 5 minutes. You know, you can't do that. You can't do that. They're going to be like, and why did we hire you? You know, so you can't do that. Those things have to be worked on during rehearsal for a play. You know, those things would have to be worked on in a rehearsal with another actor before the feature film or TV before you go on. But I don't have anything to give her if she hasn't had any loss, real loss, organic loss in her life. I don't really recommend that onion, because I mean, that's like, you know, that's not going to work, because you're not learning anything, you know, like inside you psychologically. So I've heard other actors pinching themselves.
First exercise could help when you know how you feeling and how you moving, when how your body is moving.
Yeah. One of the exercises that I would recommend. Remember I told you guys about I'm sorry.
The first one which you show us.
Yeah, the very first one. I've seen a lot of success from women even younger than her, who started crying, never had anything bad happen to them, but they started crying because they were afraid of us actors meeting us for the very first time. You know, you're almost like naked. You're without clothes in a way, but it's not really clothes. It's your feelings. You're showing your feelings to the world, you know, and you haven't made any friends. All these people are looking at you. You don't know what they're thinking about you. And then I think she was 20 or 21, and she started crying. She was like, "Oh my gosh!" And she was shaking. You know, she didn't know how to control that. And she was very fresh too. You know, she was very new to acting. So, but that was her breakthrough in a way. You know, that was her breakthrough. Like, oh my gosh, I'm shaking, and when I'm crying, I can use that. I can always go back to that. You know, it helps. It helps. Some people it's easy. For some people, it's not. So. But for Yulia, it's going to be easy because obviously what she went through, and she'll always remember that for the rest of her life. She will always have that, always. And that's what actors do. They go back to those organic moments. Audience is not going to know. Audience is going to know what's going on in the scene. It's like, oh yeah, that's right, she's dying because her dog died. Well, not really. It's organic because of what happened in her real life, which is what you want, the organic feelings to show.
Okay, guys.
Otherwise, it's just going to look fake, and you don't want that.
If we don't have any questions more, I think we can say thank you so much, because
thank you
for your time, for all of your advices. Wish you a great career, to invite us for Oscar party.
I might be, who knows, maybe in the future I might be shooting a movie in Ukraine, who knows, we'll see.
It will be great, and a great possibility to meet you in Ukraine too.
So yeah, one last word to my actors, guys, I know you love acting, and if you work really hard at it, and if you practice what you preach, and if you just listen to your heart, don't listen to the naysayers, the negativity. Just listen to yourself. And when you have those great performances, and when people praise you within the industry, your own acting community and the directors, it's the greatest feeling in the world. And then you'll know, like, wow, this is why I'm in this business. I love this business. I love the acting. I love the craft of acting. And it can help you emotionally, physically, spiritually, and it can be so therapeutic. It can be, actors can deal with problems much easier than the regular non-actor, than the people that don't act. They can shut things off. They know where to go. They study faces. They study people. They study body language. I mean, it's the greatest. I think it's the greatest profession in the world, because you get to be someone else every single project. You get to travel. You get to pretend. You get to be a kid. You don't get paid for it. So I mean, it's an amazing career, and I wish you guys luck. And I hope I see you guys in feature films, TV, commercials, whatever, theater, whatever. And I wish you guys a lot of luck, and be passionate and be strong.
Thank you so much, Peter. Bye.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.